New season means new settings videos. And if you're having trouble with low FPS, let me show you my settings that help me increase my frames in Warzone. Yo, what's up guys, my name is Mint and welcome back to another video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that sub button as I make a lot of Warzone content and videos like these. And if you enjoyed the video or liked any of these settings, make sure you hit that like button as it helps me out a lot. Now let's get right into the video guys. So before I get into the in-game settings, the first thing we're gonna do is turn on and off some of the Windows settings. So the first thing you wanna go is go to your start button over here and type in game mode. And once you have the game mode settings open, what you want to do is go to the Xbox game bar and you want to turn this thing off. So there's no Xbox game bar running in the background that's affecting your frames in game. And then you want to go over here on the side and go to game mode and you want to turn this on. And lastly, you want to come over here onto the side and go to graphics settings and you want to turn on this reduced latency as it helps you with performance as well. But if you already have this on, some people can experience crashes to the game. So if you have this on, try turning it off and it might help you with those crashes that you're having in game. So you just want to play around with this and turn it on and off and see how it improves your performance in the game. But I like to keep this on as it helps me improve my performance in the game. Now the second thing you want to do is go down to your start menu again and type in background apps. And once you have that pulled, you want to go into the background apps and you want to turn all of them off. Because when you're in game, you don't want all of these apps to be running in the background. This might take away from some of the performance you're getting in game. So just turn it off. This way you get more performance from your CPU and GPU when you're actually playing the game. Another thing you want to do for your Windows settings is go into your power and sleep settings. And once you're in the power and sleep settings, what you want to do is click on this additional power settings. And then what you want to do is put this on high performance. Some people might not have ultimate performance, but you will have high performance. So you just want to select that settings as it gives you more performance in game. But I have ultimate performance because I have a higher end PC, so I can just select that. Now lastly, for the Windows settings, what you want to do is go into your documents and find Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then you want to go to players and you want to go to advanced options. And it's going to pull up this notepad over here. And what you want to do is change the render worker count to your CPU core count. I have a 6-core CPU, so I'm going to put this to 6. But if you have a 4-core CPU, you can put it to 4. Now it's recommended that you put this count to half of what your core count is in your CPU. So if I have 6, I would put it to 3. And if I have 4, I would put it to 2. But putting this at the highest level will have the most effect, as Warzone will use all of your cores from your CPU. But if you're using Discord or any other apps while you're playing the game, you might experience some lag on the other apps because those apps don't have enough cores to use, as all of them are being used by Warzone. So you might want to play around with this number and see which one works for you. So the way you would change it is you go over here. Let's say the default number was 2. I would just click on this, delete it and put a 6. And then I would go over here and file and save. So you can turn this to 4 as well. And then just make sure you save, because then it won't count if you don't save. And now let's go into the game and I'll show you some of those settings as well. So before I get into the graphics settings, I'm going to show you guys some of the other settings that can be useful to you. If you go into the generals tab and you see this horizontal heads up display and the vertical heads up display, these settings are useful to you if you're playing on a large screen like a TV. So what these does is basically bring your HUD closer to your middle of screen or further away. So if you have it on 100, it's going to bring it further away from your screen. And if you have it to 0, it's going to bring it closer to the middle of your screen. Now, this comes into play if you're playing on a TV and you don't want to move your whole head to look at your mini-map. So basically, you can put this down to 0 and it'll bring your mini-map closer to the center of the screen. So you don't have to move your whole head. You can just move your eyes a little bit and that way you can still see that enemy in front of you and see the minimap at the same time. Now let's get into the audio tab. So basically there's just one setting that you need to take care of, which is the audio mix. Most people like to play on boost low because it amplifies those footsteps, so you hear those footsteps more clearly. But if you have a high-end headset, like you're a rich guy, like you're rich and you have a solid high-end headset, you can try the studio reference and see how that works out for you. But most people will just play on boost low. And for the master volume, try playing on the low end of the scale, because if you put this too high, the footsteps might be louder, but also all those airstrikes and gunshots might be louder too. So just turn up the headset volume and leave this on the lower end, and it might be better for you because it's going to amplify the footsteps more than those airstrikes, the satellites that they just added in the game this season, and even gunshots. And I have my music volume all the way turned down. Now let's move on to the settings you're all here for, the graphics tab. For display mode, we want to play on full screen. You can play on full screen borderless, but just know it's gonna be a little bit more input lag. So if you want no input lag or very less input lag, make sure you're playing on full screen. And your display monitor should be your main monitor, and your adapter should be your graphics card. I have a 3080, and this should be already what graphics card you have. And the refresh rate should be the refresh rate of your monitor. You can have a 60 Hz, 120, 144, and I have a 144 monitor, so I'm gonna leave this at 144. And if you don't know the refresh rate of your monitor, what you can do is come to the desktop, and if you have a NVIDIA graphics card, you can go to NVIDIA control panel, and it's gonna open up the control panel. And once it's open, you can go over here to change resolution, and you can see that there's a refresh rate button over here, and you want to select the highest one there is, and make sure you press apply, and then you can just exit out and go back to the game and select the highest refresh rate there is. And for your render resolution, make sure you're always playing on 100, because the more you decrease this, the worse your game's gonna look. So make sure you're always playing on 100. And sometimes when you start up the game automatically likes to put this to 50. So if your game's not looking very good in the start menu, just make sure you check this setting over here and just put it to 100. Aspect ratio, you want to leave it automatic, and you want to disable the VSync. You might get some screen tearing if you put it to disable, but if you enable this, it's going to reduce your performance and might cause some input lag. So in my opinion, it's worth the trade-off. I'd rather get some screen tearing than get input lag. So I just leave it on disable. And for frame rate, you want to put it to custom, and I'll come back to this one. And for the bottom two, the menu frame rate, you want to put it to 60, and autofocus, you want to put it to 30. This basically helps your GPU not perform as hard when you're just sitting in the menu doing nothing and just waiting for the game to start. So you don't want your PC to ramp up and use all that power when you're not doing anything. And for the gameplay custom frame rate, some people like to put it on max and just let the frames go wild. But if you're dropping frames or you're experiencing some lag, try limiting your frames to the refresh rate of your screen. So I have 144 Hz monitor. I'll just put this to 144 so it doesn't go anywhere higher than that, so my GPU doesn't need to use all that power to get 200 frames, 300 frames. Even though I might not get 300, I might get 200. So it just helps the game perform more stable if you're having problems with some lagging issues. But you can play around with this again and set it to full and see how that works. And if it works perfectly fine for you, that's fine as well. NVIDIA highlights, you want to disable that, because this is just going to capture some random gameplays and it's going to affect your performance. If you're not a content creator or using these clips, there's no reason for you to have this enabled. And for the NVIDIA Reflex low latency, you want to put it to enable plus boost, as it helps with the latency. And for the gamma, you want to leave it at 2.2. Most people will leave it at 2.2 if you're playing on a monitor, but if you're playing on a TV, you want to switch this to 2.4 and see how that goes for you. But most people will leave it at 2.2. Now for the streaming quality and the texture resolution, which are the two most important tabs for frames, these two tabs have the highest effects on your frames. So for streaming quality, I have it on normal, but since I have a high-end GPU, I have a 3080 in my PC, this can work for me. But if you're on the lower end, you don't have that good of a PC, try putting this on normal. Now for texture resolution, the same thing applies. Since I have a 3080, normal works fine for me. But if you're experiencing lag and you have a lower end PC, try putting this on low, and this will save you a lot of frames. For texture filter and particle quality, I have both of them on high, as I don't really see a lot of big difference in the frames when I put it on low. But if you're on a low end PC, just put it on low. Every single frame helps. Now for bullet impacts and sprays, I have it disabled. This doesn't have a lot of effect on your frames. This is just preference in my opinion. And tessellation, I have it to set to all. Same thing with this one. This doesn't have a lot of effect on your performance either. On-demand texture streaming, I have disabled. Shadow map resolution, I have set to low, as shadows are one of the biggest things that affect your frames. So I just leave it on low. And plus, the game is already dark enough. You can't even see these rose skins in the game. Why would you want more shadows? So I just leave it on low anyways. For cast shadow spots and sun shadow spots, I have it enabled, as it helps you speed up the rendering process. So sometimes when you start the game automatically likes to make it disabled. So just come into the settings and make sure this is enabled, as it help you already render the frames faster and help your frames as well. The particle lighting I have set to high. This is the same thing. It doesn't affect your frames a lot. Now ray tracing, you definitely want to turn this off unless you're playing the campaign and you want that immersion. Ambient I have disabled as well, and I have SSR disabled as well. Filmic strength I have set to 0. And now NVIDIA DLSS, with the recent update, they said they fixed it. Now some of you might not have this option as you're not playing on 2K monitors, but if you are, you want to put this on quality, which is best for 2K monitors. But if you don't have this option, you want to turn on your anti-aliasing. If you have a low-end PC, you want to leave it at 1x. But if your PC can handle it, I would leave it at T2x, as it helps with those trees looking all blurry. The higher this is, the less blurry those trees are gonna look. Depth of field I have disabled, motion blur I have disabled, and filmic grain strength I have set to 0 as well. Dynamic resolution I have disabled as well. Those are the in-game settings that help me get most frames out of my game. If you guys enjoyed the video and any of the settings helped you, make sure you guys hit that like button, as it helps me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that sub button, as I make a lot of Warzone content. And I'll see you guys in the next video.